Adam here, so what's your podcast? I have another interview for you today. I got to sit down with Naomi Grossman to talk about her newest movie, Bite Me, as well as her career and her undying passion for acting. It's always really cool when I get to talk to an actor, a creator, any creative person, really. And when I asked them to go back to the beginning of their story, the beginning of the story was the beginning of their life. They've wanted to do this and nothing but this the whole time. I love that focus and dedication, really no matter what someone's pursuit is, obviously within reason. That they just have this unwavering, this is who I am, this is what I need to do, and Naomi has that, and it's awesome that it's working out for her now. We talk about it a little bit. She really put in her time to get there. None of this stuff happens overnight. If you want something, you got to go for it, and she's a huge inspiration for people to remember that, and also just her upbeat, fun, awesome personality made it a really fun conversation, but also shows that even when life gets hard, you don't have to get down, just keep driving forward. So enjoy the interview. Hey everyone, Adam here, so was her podcast. I'm sitting down with Naomi Grossman to talk about her newest movie, Bite Me. How you doing, Naomi?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm doing good, thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
Before we get to Bite Me, I always like to ask creative people, it's like my one boilerplate thing, to go all the way back to the beginning, and when did you know you wanted to be an actor, and kind of how did you get into it?
I'm trying to decide which is first, zygote or embryo. I knew like from conception, like I yeah, I mean I came out of the womb like with jazz hands. I've just always been kind of a performer. Um yeah, I mean I there's not any one inciting moment, I mean, I remember my parents taking me to Fantasia in the theaters. And I mean that was like what, like the 70s, and I was, dancing with the hippos, and like it didn't matter that it was a not even a live action like movie. Like I was just in it. Like I've just been kind of a performer forever. It's funny, often uh think it's akin to being gay, because it's like you can't pray the gay away. Like you just are this way. Like I am what I am, and I am, I can't change it. Like
Yeah,
believe me, I've tried to do other things, but it's like it's just kind of what I was put here to do.
well, that's cool. Having that kind of certainty your entire life must have been maybe pressured away, but also freeing in a way.
Well, yeah, it's a blessing and a curse. I mean, I never went through that, like, what you gonna be when you grow up? Like, I was like, I'm an actor.
Yeah,
Like,
don't even ask.
well, I'm already doing this thing. Like, I don't have much of an audience, but yeah. But at the same time, I also went through periods of, again, it took me. I took my sweet time having any kind of commercial success, and um so there were times where I was really tested, like, well, am I supposed, was I sent here to do this? Because the universe doesn't seem to be agreeing. But
Yeah, you didn't pick an easy one.
yeah, and that's why it was, like I said, it was a curse at times, because I was like, there's literally nothing else I want in this world. Like, so what you gonna do?
Yeah. Were you your family, was there like any showbiz in your family, or were you born in like LA or New York where it's like kind of normal, or was it just a
No,
totally
I was born into a family of artists, so there is that. My dad's an architect, my mom's a pianist, so they understood what it is to have a passion for art, and to have to pursue it for your mental health. So they never, fought me on that. It's not like they were pushing me to be a doctor or a lawyer. Like they knew, again, it was very clear they, birthed an artiste. And so,
right?
let foster that. But no performers. I was born in Denver, Colorado.
Okay,
You,
that's really cool that your family understood.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and also I just gave them no choice but to understand anyway. Like,
Yeah, there you go.
it's kind of like when you see, again, when you see those little kids, those, little boys with like tutus who just want to be in their mommy's heels. Like, it's like,
Yeah,
like,
we know.
well,
Okay.
this is what they've chosen. So,
Right. It's like get on board.
you can beat it out of them, but like, can you?
Yeah, you
And
just
why would you? That's awful.
ruin them. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's awesome that your family supporters, because it's always interesting for me to hear that someone like you, like show business was the only option. You were never like, oh, maybe I'll become a teacher, but I could also act. It was just that one thing.
I mean,
But it's
I
not
did
like,
become a teacher for a while
oh,
just
did you? Oh, it's
because
funny
I
that I
needed to
used that
make
one
ends
random
meet.
example.
But yeah, I mean, again, when I wasn't able to uh, support myself as an actor, I still found um, ding dong jobs that forced me in front of a captive crowd, performing. So,
Okay,
and
yeah.
actually teaching was great in that regard. I had this completely, captive audience. I like a star. I got to wear whatever, all eyes on me. I was like the smartest in the room. They didn't know that I was like workshopping jokes the whole time, but and even then, I have students, and granted, I taught adults to be fair, but I have students who would say, like, I didn't really learn much, but I enjoyed it. Like, I could have put that money towards, the Laugh Factory every Thursday, but instead I came to the, Beverly Hills Lingual Institute. So, and they were like, and I could write that off at least.
Yeah. Then you got paid instead of paying for time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So was that kind of maybe not your way into show business, because you said you did that when you were trying to make ends meet. So what was that first project that was kind of like the foot in the door, or even like just getting your toe in there?
Well, I mean, I got my toe in on my 15th birthday when I got my SAG card on the set of Father Dowling Mysteries back in, 1990. Um, but it wasn't until American Horror Story in 2012 that things started to really like happen. There was what, 22 years in there.
Yeah, that's a long time for like I hope this works.
Yeah, it's a long time to be, teaching Spanish and driving the Red Bull car and dancing for money at bar mitzvahs and modeling nude art in art classes and you name it, all sorts of anything and everything. Um, at all the while I was doing my thing. Like I said,
Yeah.
I wasn't just teaching Spanish expecting Hollywood to come knocking. Like I was very active. I had a couple one woman shows. I was at the Groundlings Comedy Theater. I have had a very active YouTube channel. I was doing it. I just didn't have anybody watching it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him
Again,
on.
I've always
Yep.
been a performer. I just haven't always had an audience.
Right. But that's good, because all that time you're honing your craft. You're learning, you're building, you're doing it.
Oh yeah. In fact, I mean, I mentioned my architect dad. We lived in this really cool kind of mid-century modern home with these sort of like little stages outside of every window. And so literally in front of my bedroom window I had a stage, and I would perform for the chipmunks and the squirrels. Again, it didn't matter, I didn't need anyone watching. It helps when they are. you
Right.
know Believe me, as a performer, I have well, since I've done solo shows, no, but I've done the occasional show where there's more performers than there is audience, and that sucks. But
Yeah.
um but at the end of the day, if you are, heaven forbid, plagued with the with being a performer through and through like I am, well then, it doesn't really matter.
Right, yeah.
You know.
It's cool that you got on YouTube when you did, because I would just imagine like if you were born like a generation later or something and you had YouTube the whole time, you'd probably have a channel with 20,000 videos and
Yeah, I mean, yes. I I feel very fortunate for YouTube was one of those things that I just realized when I did leave the Groundlings, I was like, okay, so what? I'm not performing on Melrose Avenue anymore. I'm performing on the World Wide Web. Like
Yeah.
they can only fit 99 butts in those seats anyway. Like I might as well like this way. There's like infinity number of views. Like so that's more like it.
Right, and it stays.
Yeah, yeah,
The Groundlings is pretty huge, though. I mean, even as a complete outsider, I know that. So,
yeah.
was that like an
Good. Yeah,
audition process
yeah,
to
yeah.
get in
It is.
there?
Yeah, I mean, a ton of major comedians come out of there. Although there are way more successful comedians that quit or that were dismissed out of there that never made it out of there.
Yeah.
I've been on like I don't know Adam Carolla's show, and I mean the guy is so funny. You can't even. It's like I didn't even want to speak. I was his guest, and I didn't even want to open my mouth because I was like it would take away from the funny.
Right. Yeah. Just let him
And
have at it.
but he mentioned he was like, oh, I was like cut after like basic or whatever. I didn't even get through intermediate. It's like so what do they know? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. That's still cool. It's still a good workout for your comedy chops and everything, I'm sure.
Oh, big time.
And you also mentioned American Horror Story, which I'm glad because I want to touch on that because I've been loving American Horror Story since it started. Like an anthology is so cool, and there's not many of them.
Yeah.
Was Freak Show the first season you did? It was, right?
No,
Oh.
Asylum was.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And
So we
how
saw
did?
Pepper in the first episode of the
Oh,
second
that's right. That's
season,
right. Yeah.
and then throughout. But obviously, Freak Show is where we got to really like see her backstory. So
Hmm.
I played her for an entire season prior to that without really knowing where she came from or how she got there.
Right. That's the
I
cool
mean, I
thing.
had my own theories in my head, which any actor should,
Mhm.
but ultimately the story that they bestowed upon me was way better than the one I created for myself.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Was that just like an open audition process, or your agent sent it to you?
Yeah, my agent at the time, I mean, all this while I was teaching Spanish and, making YouTube videos, I had an agent, which isn't unheard of in our, in Los Angeles. Like, I mean, your YouTube, your Uber driver has an agent,
Right. Yeah.
but your dog has an agent. Um, uh, but yeah, I mean, he was I don't know. He got me that, and then I never heard from him again. So I've replaced him several times over since. But yeah, hey,
It's
go
weird that he
figure.
bails when you get the thing that you considered like your next level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think in that regard, I got very very lucky. I
Hmm.
remember when he first contacted me, it was like usually it's the actor pursuing the agent, not the other way around. And he found me, and I did a quick Google search, and he seemed like just a shyster, and so I passed. And then I mentioned it to my best friend, who's like a acting coach and actor himself, and he was like, "What are you doing, Naomi? Like, you got to kiss a few frogs. Like, just go on the agency meeting. Like, even if you decide to pass, then fine." But so sure enough, I was like, you know what, that's good advice. So I actually recontacted him and said, if you'd like to take a meeting, I'd be open to that. So we went ahead and met, went ahead and signed, again, fully knowing that this guy was like kind of a joke in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Um, but and don't get me wrong, he was a joke. Like he got me like, I don't know, 3 auditions in the year that I was with him. That's not good. But hey, one of those auditions happened to be for American Horror Story, and the rest is history.
Yeah, because you've done that multiple seasons. It wasn't just the two that we already mentioned, right? You've been back
Right. I
again
also
and
did
again.
Apocalypse, and of course, I was in the spinoff just recently, American Horror Stories.
Oh, that's yeah, the individual episodes
Yeah.
or maybe two-parters. Yeah. Oh, very cool. Yeah. I forgot how many you were in.
No
I,
worries.
I remember reading articles way back when Asylum was coming out. And if this is like too inside or whatever, I can drop it. You don't have to answer. but I remember reading articles where someone in your team, your management, whatever, was advising you against taking the role as a pinhead.
No, I
Okay.
think that's no. I mean, there's a lot of like gossip, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
haven't heard
yeah.
that one.
And it's
I've
been
never heard
years,
that
so I don't
one.
remember the source.
Um, no, I mean, I've definitely gotten a question like, are you worried about you'll be, pigeonholed as a pinhead? But I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm not.
Not.
Like that's
Yeah.
makeup,
It
and
was such an insane transformation. It's like you have to do like a side by side and be like, yeah, I guess I see it.
yeah. I mean, every now and then I have had, you'll find the really myopic casting director or representative who's like, yeah, but what else can you do? And I'm like, no, I literally can do anything, like from that to like this, like, and like how many shades of gray in between,
Right.
there's a giant spectrum between me and Pepper, so
It's weird that someone
whatever
meets
you
you,
want.
they see how animated and lively you are, and then they see that performance and they're like, well, what else? I'm like, you see two complete opposite things. What do you mean, what else? Like everything
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
It's so bizarre.
I mean,
Uh,
I'm a chameleon. I really pride myself on completely disappearing into the role. And obviously in the case of Pepper, that was, well, I don't want to say easy to do, but I mean, I was wearing so much makeup, it was easy to not look like Naomi. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's to me, that's the job. I'm a
yeah.
shapeshifter. I like when I'm a character, I'm taking on not only their, life and their relationships and their desires, their walk, their talk, their gestures, their backstory, their future. It's everything, and so it goes to show that it would be different than my own.
Oh, for sure.
When there's actors. I mean, I don't want to name names, but Adam Sandler. We love him. We love him. But he's Jack, he's Jill, he's still Adam Sandler. And we pay a lot of money to see Adam Sandler, so there's no harm in that. But that's not what I'm trying to do. I really
Yeah.
wanna I wanna be that like, oh my God, that was Naomi Grossman,
Right. Yeah, because to your point, people do if you're into Adam Sandler, you're into Adam Sandler because you know what his thing is.
Yeah.
But then he has his outliers like Punch Drunk Love or what was that new one he just did like 2 years ago with the
Something
jewels?
gems.
Yeah.
Hidden
w-
um
I know what you're talking.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
whatever that was. But when he really goes out and he's like, "Oh, he can be an actor." Also, it's like those are the ones that stand out, to me at least. So,
Me too.
right to your point is like you want to disappear into the character because those are the roles that people are going to remember.
Again, it's just what you set out to do. I mean, again, Robert De Niro, one of the greats, and yet like he's the mafioso New York grandpa now.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, he's himself and everything.
and that's again, it's fine, but again, I'm more than a pinhead. Like
Right.
that would be a really short career if that's all let's face it, we hadn't seen a pinhead since 1933 Freaks. And I gotta eat. I can't wait for
You can't wait
another.
for Ryan Murphy to call for a Freak Show 2 or Asylum 2.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Do you find it easier to disappear into those roles when there is so much makeup or elaborate costuming, or when you're kind of walk around in street clothes and you can kind of do your hair how you normally do? Is it harder to make the switch into another person?
Well, yes. I mean, obviously, like I said, you're helped by the hair and makeup, no question. um but not only that, but the far further away from you, I think the easier it is. Because you're to disappear, that is.
Mhm.
Not to do the job, but just uh yeah, I mean, I know that that's contrary to what most actors would say. Most actors are like, "Oh my God, you were totally like another person," and like, how hard is that? But for whatever reason, that's ah, I'm sorry, I'm not being very articulate. I just
No,
think,
it's okay.
um, it's kind of like when you do an impression or an impersonation, when there's something really obvious about the person, like like, let's say Sofia Vergara, right? And if you take on her accent, like the bigger the you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, almost like a
whatever
caricature.
that distinguishing characteristic is that you're gonna like
Yeah.
over indulge, um, the better. So yes, the bigger the character, the further away from you, the easier it is to disappear.
That makes sense. Yeah. Because if you're playing like your sister, it might be like, well, this is really hard
Like,
because
oh,
it's
how am I different than my sister? Yeah,
yeah, we grew up the same,
we're
and yeah, she
like
likes this and
literally
I
have the
like
same
that, but
DNA. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
that makes sense. Yeah, it's interesting.
Mm.
So after, I mean, you've done a ton of stuff. Um, so I know it wasn't just American Horror Story to Bite Me, but we're here for Bite Me. So how did Bite Me come across your desk?
Yeah, so Naomi McDougall Jones, who I know so many Naomis. There were actually
Yeah.
three on set. There
Oh
was
wow.
also a makeup artist, Naomi. But so the writer and star of the film, Naomi McDougall Jones, reached out to me. Apparently, she had me in mind while she was writing this movie, which is super flattering because, like I said, there was a long time no one had me in mind for anything other than maybe teaching them Spanish.
Right.
And so yeah, she reached out, and I guess they had a bunch of little, stage readings there in New York, and the consensus always was, oh, that character Chrissy isn't quite working, and she was like, I know, it's because Naomi Grossman isn't doing it yet. So those were sort of big shoes to fill. Like, oh snap! Like, I got to live up to whatever this Naomi Grossman hype is.
Right, pressure's
Oh, I
on.
hope I can do that. Um, I mean, if I can't pull off Naomi Grossman, I don't know who can. But maybe Adam Sandler.
Yeah, there you go. He's
Probably
the one
not
to
Robert
call.
De Niro. Anyway, yeah, so that's she just reached out and I read the script, and I often say, again, as an architect's daughter, I it's kind of like seeing the blueprints. Like, if the structure isn't strong, like the house isn't going to hold. Like, the if the script is weak or has holes in it, you can't fix that in post. It's got to be
Right.
solid from the start. And it was. I thought it was a really cute, fun script, and I love that I could kind of marry my two genres. I come from comedy, and yet, horror is sort of where I've made a home, and so I was able to kind of satisfy those two audiences and loves.
Yeah, that's and your character also got to be pretty big.
Yeah.
Like you got to like lean into it. Well, you're very. I don't mean. I'm not knocking at
No,
all.
no, I
You're
know
a
what you
very
mean. I'm
animated
5
person.
feet
It's
of
great.
sun, but I'm bigger than life.
Right. So it's cool that you got
Yes.
to bring that to your character, and it fit the plot for her to just kind of be a little too much on everything.
Yeah.
Annoyed her roommate, but
Right, right, right. No, it's a blessing and a curse. Um, you know, they're always saying it's easier to bring an actor down than to bring them up. So I'm very good I'm a director's dream, because all you have to do is just dial me down.
right.
But at the same time, it's hard. Like, I come from the theater. I'm 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 most comfortable, acting to the back row. And when there's a camera right here, it's I have to, rein it in myself. Particularly when I don't have the luxury of a bunch of prosthetics on my face covering up all that.
Right.
In the case of Pepper, all of this animation is, you have to be that animated, because if you're doing this, like, very in vogue style of television acting right now, where your face doesn't move, like, those prosthetics aren't gonna either. So
Right.
it's I they needed me to, like, penetrate that makeup, and so
And that was
very good
mostly a visual
casting.
character too. Oh, it was definitely good casting because
Well, I mean, Thank you. It's better for you to say than me, but
I'll swap it around. I'll edit
oh,
it.
thank you, thank
Yeah. No, but it was because that was your character's role, was to be a little bit larger than life and to go out of your way to dress up and show the world like we're ridiculous, but this is who we, or maybe not ridiculous. It might be insulting to those people, but to show, hey, this is who we are. Deal with it.
yeah. I was trying to decide, is he talking about Pepper or Chrissy in Bite Me? Um,
I meant
yeah,
Chrissy more, but
no, Chrissy is totally unapologetic. I think
yeah.
Chrissy is as close to me as I've probably ever played.
Okay, I could see
Which is
that.
funny. I mean, I'm not a vampire. I don't get my energy from blood, but I'm also kind of a badass, like, boss bitch. Like, I don't.
Yeah, this
So
is me. Deal with
I
it.
identify with her. I think she's awesome. I'd like to be her friend. I'd like to be her. In fact, I am her.
Yeah,
You
there you
know.
go.
Yeah.
That's probably why other Naomi, writer Naomi,
Thought of
saw
me.
you in the role.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very cool. So were you kind of you said the script was very solid and it must have been because romantic comedies are not exactly my thing, but I watched them like, oh, this is really well done. It's all here. It's very charming. Like this is great.
Oh,
Um did she kind of let you run with the character or was it all there on the page?
it was there on the page. I mean, I ran with it, but not necessarily. Uh, I wasn't improvising a whole lot just because we didn't have time. It's an
Right.
indie movie, and if you don't have, time is money,
Hmm.
and if you don't have money, you definitely don't have time. You
Right.
know,
Yeah, you're not doing extra takes just to see what's
no,
funny
no.
and yeah. Was it cool to explore that? I didn't even know that was a subculture until I talked to Naomi and saw the movie. So now, talking to you as an actor, was it cool to explore that new subculture and this way of life people have?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything about it either.
Did
It
did you
was
have to do research or meet anybody or was it just kind of here it is?
yes and no. I didn't do as much as I suppose I could have. I really felt that, and I don't think I'm wrong, that being a vampire, or rather getting your energy from blood, that's just like, that's her diet. That's like how she, you know what I mean? It's kind of like me. Like, I I love filet mignon. Not a huge part of my personality. Like, being a carnivore is not necessarily, it hasn't come up until now.
Right.
Like, we could go on a bunch of dates and you might not even learn that about me. Or maybe you would. I don't
Yeah.
know, but the point is, it's just a thing. It's not necessarily like this driving force in my personality, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think of it as that. Like, it's just one of the aspects of being of Chrissy.
That makes sense because the way it plays out in the movie is like obviously it comes up because when other people hear about it, they're like, "Oh, really? That's what you do?" But it's not like that's what you're doing 24/7. It's like once a week.
No, yeah. Again, I live my life, and like, what I eat or what I consume is kind of neither here nor there.
Right, you think about it 10 minutes ahead of time and then not
Yes,
again.
exactly.
Right. That's a really good way to put it up. So too much research almost might have been a detriment because you're gonna be overthinking that one aspect of this character's life.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any actor um like didn't wasn't served by extra research. It was never be like a detriment to their performance, I
Okay.
doubt, but at the same time, it wasn't necessarily gonna. It didn't seem like.
Maybe a waste of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. Very cool. And, have you been able to see it with a live audience?
Have I? Yes, yes.
Oh,
When they
cool,
did their
okay.
Joyful Vampire tour through, the country, they got an RV and they drove around from post to post. And I want to say they hit like a good like 50 cities. I'm sure
Wow.
Naomi McDougall Jones told you about it. But
No,
anyway,
I
when they
don't think
came
she
through
mentioned it.
LA, they did I think 3 different screenings, and I brought friends each time. Had a different vampire get up each time, and yeah, that was really fun. And also, now that I think about it, we also went to the CineQuest. We had the premiere there, which is up in Northern California. I want to say like San Jose, and that was fabulous, really fun, in a really awesome old, art house, one of those movie palaces.
Yeah, very cool.
So yeah, I have.
That's awesome because that was one thing that I found really heartbreaking the last 2 years interviewing actors or indie creators that they don't get that kind of payoff being able to see their creation with, the public. So are they laughing where they should? Are they sad when they should be? So it's
Right.
cool that it's coming back for you.
Yes, indeed. It's yeah. I mean, I wish that I could have been in that RV, and I've never used that in a sentence. Like, but I mean, I love how creative they went about all this. They were like, well, let's hit the road, and they just did it about it themselves. I mean, that's so Naomi McDougall Jones to do. To just sort of take the bull by the horns and go for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And 50
Yeah,
cities,
she's
that's
she's
no
a little
joke.
bit Chrissy. She thinks she's Sarah. She's got a little Chrissy in her.
That's awesome. Well, Naomi, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on. Is there anything you want to plug, or anything else you want to plug, or you want to give people your socials or whatever else?
Yeah, sure. I'm at Naomi W. Grossman on all channel everywhere and everywhere. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm working on a new one woman show you can look out for called American Horror Story, which will be fun. It's kind of it's a very fan friendly um, anthology series of autobiographical tales of self compromise,
Okay.
hence the horror. So you'll people can look forward to that. They'll know little tidbits of some of the stories from this interview here. I've given
Oh,
you a
very
couple
cool.
little teases, but if you want to hear the real deal,
Really get into it.
yeah, you'll have to check that out. But if they follow me, they'll know when and where to find that.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. That was a ton of fun, and I wish you the best of luck with Bite Me.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I'd like to thank Naomi one more time for coming on the show to talk to me about Bite Me, American Horror Story. I'm a huge fan of that as well. Her career and that undying drive that really inspires me to get going on the things that I'm trying to do. Hopefully you guys found that same thing out of it. Bite Me is available now on VOD, so you can check that out. And of course, she was in many seasons of American Horror Story, along with a lot of other things going on in her career. So look her up, check out her stuff. She's an awesome person. Please make sure you like and subscribe. We have a lot more interviews, new movie coverage, comic book reviews, unboxings, all this stuff. Too much content to even get it up on here. We're working as hard as we can, so you're not going to want to miss out. Also, make sure you listen to So Wizard Podcast every single week, wherever you get your podcasts. SoWizardPodcast.com is your resource for reviews, recommendations, videos, merchandise, and more. So Wizard Podcast can also be found on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you get multiple monthly bonus shows. So we love hearing feedback, so drop us in on the comments, leave us something on social media. All the accounts can be found after the show and in the show notes. And on a more personal note, a good friend and I have an ongoing comedy comic series. It's called Social Studies. It's a slice of life comedy comic about the high school experience. We keep it all funny. We write it like a sitcom. We present it like the 90s cartoons that we grew up on and inspired us. We've been having a ton of fun with it. We're getting a lot of great feedback. There's 8 issues available now. 9's coming any day. We're just have a hold up with the printer, and we want the physical issues to get out there. And we're working really hard on a Comixology tie-in, working on getting on Comixology Unlimited, so that'll be really cool for everybody. Check it out at socialstudiescomic.com. Thanks.